friends, me Wayman, and I want to come on and do a quick video. Just as an announcement, real quick, Ozzycda is doing a podcast tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Carl Jung's view of religion. So I'm going to post that in the link below, and hopefully some of you can tune in. It's been a long time since I did a video, especially on religion, and I kind of wanted to explain a little bit about some awesome book buys that I got yesterday from the used bookstore, and also what I've been reading. A lot of interesting stuff coming out of the book New Testament Code by Robert Eisenman. I'm really enjoying it, even though he's on the fringe a little bit. It's excellent material and made me think about a lot of things around the early Christians and Josephus and the Jewish War by the Romans. So first of all, let's do the books here. I went to the used bookstore, and I got 4 books, all $1 a piece, and 3 of them are hardcover. This one's Philosophy of Nature by D.Q. McInerney, and I looked on the inside cover, and here it is. It's signed by him to one of his editors, must be, and they were getting rid of it for some reason. But this book is roughly, I looked, it's like $49, $50 on Amazon, and so I got a pretty good deal there. Then I got Meister Eckhart. Always loved his stuff. I got a book on his sermons, but I got this Penguin classic, Meister Eckhart. The man from whom God hid nothing. He's a mystic, excellent with metaphor and the way he words things. I just love reading his writings, and his sermons were awesome. German philosopher and priest. Then I got Isaiah Berlin, Proper Study of Humankind, an anthology of essays. So that was kind of nice. Then I picked up Religion and Human Evolution, so by Bella. So I kind of want to get to these maybe later. So anyways, what I've been reading. I'm about halfway through the New Testament Code by Robert Eisenman, and one of the sections that I'm really enjoying is Part 4, which discusses the Pella flight and the wilderness camps, and it talks about the apocalyptic view of Qumran and how all that came about, and Eisenman's view that the teacher of righteousness could be possibly James the Just, or James the brother of Jesus. The wicked priest could be Paul, and the Pauline theology and schools in competition with the early Jerusalem church. And the reason why a lot of the Pauline doctrine is very prominent today is because they won. James the Just and the Jerusalem church lost. So the winners get to rewrite history. But in here it talks about the War Scroll and the Pictures of Habakkuk and others being apocalyptic texts, and how all that comes into play with the Roman wars, and how the Essenes and those at Qumran were not peaceful, very peaceful at all, but their texts are very apocalyptic, and they had to remain clean and separate in order for the apocalyptic war to happen. If angels are going to fight among them, they had to be absolutely pure. So they went on strict purity codes, and some of them, Eisenman points out, were even vegetarian because they were so concerned about eating meat sacrificed to idols. Also, what I found interesting was the view of John the Baptist, which in Antiquities, Josephus talks about baptism not being a remission of sin, but a cleansing of the body, which is amazing, because in the New Testament, it's portrayed something totally different. So it's fairly easy to read the source text first. So Eisenman discusses at great length the influences of the early Christian church and the comparisons, even the Apostle Paul and how he skews the theology using the community rule document, Damascus document, the MMT, a lot of the peshers that are found in Dead Sea Scrolls. And you can read all that. Michael Wise's translation, and Eisenman worked with Michael Wise on some of this, the translation, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Translated and commentary by Michael Wise, Martin Ebick Jr., and Edward Cook. I had this for quite some time. I had their earlier translation before everything published, but this is the updated version, and I really enjoy it. That all comes into play on what I read by David Flusser, Judaism of the Second Temple Period, Qumran, and Apocalypticism. So now you all know that I really enjoy reading apocalypticism and end-time theories and what people think. But this kind of thing, friends, today is all about the worry about forced assimilation. They're worried about purity, and a lot of times, especially in the Second Temple period, priests were installed by conquerors like the Greeks and the Romans. They put their own people in, and so they seen that as contamination into the belief system and to the theology, which it very well was. Salam says none of this. They went to strict purity laws, went into the desert. A lot of those abandoned temple sacrifice due to the corruption in the temple, mainly by the appointed priestly caste, and there were bathing rituals, the daily bathers, which Eisenman talks about, and just a whole host of things that ended up being pretty amazing. So if you can get, Flusser had 2 volumes, Judaism, the Second Temple Period, Qumran, Apocalypticism, Volume 1, and then Jewish sages and their literature. So how does this come into play today? And what's going on in the world? This kind of stuff is still happening. And it's really amazing to read the news and to see people worried about the same kinds of things and just going ballistic. Extreme Islamic views against the West and what ISIS is doing. Terrible, terrible tragedies happening over there in their quest for purity. However, there's a huge difference. If the leaders themselves are scandalous, it's only for their own benefit and wealth and power. It is not for the benefit of making the belief system more pure for the betterment of the people. James the Just was thought highly of in both Judaism and by the Jewish rabbis, and in the Talmud writings, Jewish writings, and also early Christians. He was known as James the Just because he cared about the law, he cared about the poor. So a lot of the stuff that you get from the Pauline theology today, they had a huge problem with. And in the text you can see Paul going back and forth with the apostles, and especially Peter, over clean and unclean foods, over eating with Gentiles, over dietary laws, over circumcision, a whole host of things, where they tried to maintain as much as they could and seem fit to the Jewish law. And they seen Paul as an imposter who would attract all kinds of things that weren't necessarily healthy to the belief system. And then you get what we have today. So all that, the extremism still going on today, it doesn't change, and it's repeated. Whether you have ISIS, or whether you have David Koresh, or whether you have Scientology, all these kinds of extremist groups are out there, and it's amazing to read about it in history and in the biblical literature and in the Dead Sea Scroll literature. So, if you can pick it up, It's a long read, right? It's like 1,000 pages. I gave myself like 3 months to read this, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's going slow. But if you have not read the background literature, by all means, get the copy of the Dead Sea Scrolls, get out your Bible, a copy of Josephus, Works of Josephus, the complete works. You can get that. It's fairly cheap, and it's online for free. And just go to town and your Bible. That's all you really need. So there you have it. See if you can join us tonight. I should have probably advertised this sooner, but I was kind of busy. At 7 o'clock, I'm going to be on talking with Ozzycda. So be well, friends, and remember, if everybody's thinking alike, then somebody isn't thinking.